What's up, beautiful souls? It's Dr. Lee here, and I'm excited to share with you today on another episode of the Spiritual Psychiatrist Podcast. We're calling this one Our Cosmic Origins, the True History of the Human Race. Now, I'm just going to be honest, for most of you, a lot of these words, a lot of this history is going to be foreign. When I first heard this history, I didn't understand most of it. But why is it important? When I was a little kid, probably my least favorite subject in school was history. I remember putting my head on the table and falling asleep. I didn't understand why it was so important to understand the true history. And you want to think about it in this way as well, because history will repeat itself unless we learn from the past. And also, there's all these people who kind of go into their family lineage, their ancestral lineage. Well, today, what I want to share with you is our cosmic lineage. Where do we come from? A lot of people are talking about, Pleiades, Lyra, Orion, the stars, and how the stars, as below, so above. Right? And so where is our true cosmic origins from? Where do we really come from? Because when we understand where we come from, we have a better understanding of our cosmic ancestry, who we represent, what we're here to do. And the most important question, our sacred why. Why am I here? Right? And so a lot of you, as you start accreting your upper stranded DNA, for example, when I was accreting my fifth DNA strand, for example, why was it that my Palladian star family, all of a sudden this book finds you, right? About the Pleiades star system. And then, you're doing this random healing in Santa Monica with crystals, and you're just getting into the understanding and divine knowing and direct cognition that you come from the stars. And all of a sudden, the healer tells you, oh, you fought in the Orion Wars. 8th DNA strand, 8th Universal Stargate, Orion, right? And then you start, your star family starts finding you, but it's not going to tell you more than you need. It's only going to tell you what you need to understand about your origins so that you can fulfill your contract in this particular lifetime. And there's also, I'm starting to meet a lot of my Lyran brothers and sisters, okay? And when you go to Kauai, Hawaii, or Mount Shasta, you'll hear a lot of talk about the Lemurians. Okay, and then also when you start kind of delving in a little bit deeper into start accreting your upper stranded DNA, your 4th, 5th, and 6th stranded DNA is your soul, right? But 7th, 8th, 9th stranded DNA is your oversoul. Your 10th, 11th, 12th stranded DNA is your avatar inner Christ. But the base 12 code is when God created man and woman in his image, her image, Mother, Father, God's image. It was a base 12 mathematical code. And it's a very intelligent code. And this is why, for example, Dr. Zach Bush, when he studies a cell, right? If you understand a cell, you can understand the stars. The micro is the macro. As within, so without. As below, so above. Right? Because everything was imprinted with this mathematical code, base 12. And on the Kabbalah tree of life, I know there's only 10 in most textbooks right now, Jewish mysticism, but there was actually 12. And not only does it stand for each one is a level of mind, it's a bandwidth of frequency, it's a dimension, it's represented by a color, but also when you start going into planetary stargates, galactic stargates, and universal stargates, each one is a stargate. And 12 is Lyra in the universal stargate system, 12, 11, 10. Remember, I've talked about this. There was a cut where a timeline where Lyra 12, 11 was cut off from the source. And remember, energy, when it comes in, it has to come in through 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7. Right? So there's a very highly intelligence to this mathematical formulation. And today we're going to delve into our cosmic origins. because it's important to understand where we come from and the true history of the human race, as well as the true history of Mother Earth. Because if we don't understand these things, then people can make up stories. They can blank slate our technology, cut us off from our soul, and make up stories that we evolved from apes. No, we didn't. Humanity, original celestial human beings, were a crowning jewel of many, many different master races coming together to formulate this master race that we call humanity. And there's also a lot of different ET races represented here on Earth that are not human. So I hope that by sharing this cosmic history, cosmic ancestry of what Mother Earth has been through, of what the celestial humans have been through, it can give us a clear understanding of who we are, where we come from, but also where we're going, because history will repeat itself unless we learn from the past. So today I want to delve into our cosmic origins. But before we do that, I want to set the frequency by the love of original eternal source consciousness field. We have come. A lot of us have come. The 144,000 have arrived. Never been a better time to be alive. Our star brothers and our star sisters are here. Stars in my mind have aligned. 144,000 have arrived. Go ahead, shine your light. You are the light of the world. It's time to shine. This is the lifetime we've waited for. That's been prophesied. So we welcome in the frequency of unconditional love on the physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual plane around this podcast on all dimensions and all timelines. By the truth of original eternal source consciousness field we stand. I pray that you bless my words, that they would represent the truth, for the truth will set us free, and all the soul wants is to be free, and we are free indeed. By the power of original eternal source consciousness field we fly. We welcome in the frequency of power to speak our truth unapologetically, and it will trigger people, and that's okay. A unique oscillatory vibratory of Almighty Living Creator source consciousness field. So we welcome each one of us to step into our power, unapologetically ourselves, for such an important inflection point in humanity's history. Mother Earth, all of creation is crying out for the true sons and daughters of the Most High Living Creator Source to step into their power and remember who we are. By the grace of original eternal source consciousness field, I now sanctify and renew. Always grace. Grace for what Mother Earth has been through. Grace for what each one of us have been through. I now sanctify and renew this podcast, this episode. It's under the divine protector of the original eternal life founders races, Melchizedek, Cloister, Emerald, Amethyst, and Gold Order, for the highest good, joy, and abundance of Mother Earth and each and every single person who might be listening in this lifetime, but also in the one to come. Thy queendom is coming now. Thy will is now being done in this podcast episode on earth as it is in the highest heavens. Taisha into Doe, Taisha into Doe, Taisha into Doe, spoken as it is stated now, and so it is done. Rasha, your lotus for Christ start. So this podcast now. So, oftentimes in my ceremonies, I say a 9-minute prayer called the Source River Frequencies Prayer of Eternal Sanctification, and I open up a portal straight to Source. But in the first 4 minutes of this ceremony, I'm calling in the eternal beloved councils. And a lot of people in my ceremonies are seeing councils of 12. Knights of the Round Table, 12 apostles, whatever you want to call it. When one soul comes into the earth, it comes in, if you want to call it a soul family, comes in 12 through electromagnetic vision. I am the vine. One soul stream becomes 12 on different timelines, and time is simultaneous. So there's people who were on the Knights Templar timeline. There's people who were on the Egypt timeline. In fact, there's sometimes people will literally go to this space beyond space or time. There's no time. Time is simultaneous. Only consciousness moving through different densities, and they will literally start speaking a foreign language. They're there in Egypt, speaking an ancient foreign language, breaking parasitic contracts that no longer serve humanity. There's timelines where Atlantis has not fallen. So in certain ceremonies, we'll see people flying in on a spaceship and all the people welcoming them. Atlantis rising. There's a timeline where in previous certain lives, we may have been distorted, but we're recorrecting or rewriting the stars. There's a certain timeline, you're going to see Lyra 12D was on one timeline exploded. There's a certain timeline where Lyra 12D still exists. Okay, and it's about attention. Which timeline are we on? Because there is no time, only frequency. Consciousness moving through different densities. And so I'm going to speak today a 3D linear timeline of Mother Earth, of the original celestial human being. A lot of this you're not going to understand, and that's okay. I didn't either. But I want to share this truth because I think it's important for this perspective about what humanity has been through, about what the original celestial human being has been through, to be known. Because if you want to know a counterfeit dollar bill, first you got to study really, 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 really carefully the original dollar bill. And you got to know its lines, you got to understand it, you got to know. And when you see a counterfeit, boom, you'll know right away. Right? So there's a lot of different versions of history that people are speaking about. Oh, we come from apes. Oh, Anunnaki are creator gods. Some of these are like even being, broadcasted on certain programs that a lot of spiritual people watch. There's a whole new age movement, right? And anytime anyone has an agenda, they want to promote their agenda, right? The Catholic Church, the Protestant Church, like who has an agenda? What storyline are they promoting, right? And so I want to offer you an eternal life perspective of the true cosmic origins of the original celestial human being, what we've been through, and then hopefully end it with a little bit of where we're going and why I believe this lifetime is the lifetime we've waited for. So, like I said, sometimes in my ceremonies, every time in my ceremony, I call in the, original eternal life founders races. And part of that is what we call the Guardian Alliance. It's an immense group of beings who reside in a myriad of locations in the 15-dimensional time matrix. This is a 15-dimensional time matrix. They are members of the Interdimensional Association of Free Worlds. So there's many, 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 many dimensions, many, many, many different galaxies. And the Guardian Alliance is part of the Interdimensional Association of Free Worlds. And they want Earth one day to be re-entered into the Interdimensional Association of Free Worlds. But in order for that to happen, Earth has to be free. So we're going to talk a little bit about the Guardian Alliance, how they've been involved. And people don't believe me when I say these things, that there's councils. For example, Harmonic Universe 3, the Elohim were assigned as a council, overseer. Harmonic Universe 2, which is Dimension 456, the Sirian, which is Universal Stargate 6, Sirius A, Sirius B, right, were assigned, and the Elohim were oversigning. And so there's councils that oversee Earth, right? But there's a lot of other also ET races that have come to Earth with their own agenda. And so hopefully some of the things I speak about today are going to shed some awareness on what Earth has been through. So there's been 3 seedings of the original celestial human being, okay? So the original celestial human being was, if you want to say, a crowning jewel of all of creation, where a lot of different master ET races or ascended masters came together and said, we want to create this amazing, beautiful crowning jewel of creation. You want to call it creator 1, 2, 3, whatever. And so they all came together and they created this master beautiful race, combining all of their different amazing technologies. And the greatest one being, the science of the 12-stranded DNA. The 4th, 5th, and 6th stranded DNA was the soul. The 7th, 8th, 9th stranded DNA was the oversoul. The 10th, 11th, 12th stranded DNA was the avatar inner Christ. And on Tara, 5D Earth, this seeding, there's been 3 seedings of the original celestial human being. And it was designed so that at a certain age, the age of 33, that the original celestial human being was intended to embody their 12-stranded DNA on Tara, 5D Earth, a playground to come experience Source with fresh living water, with systems that were fair, a safe place for the original celestial human being to experience each other, and then to return to source, a source wholeness. And at the age of 33, once you embody your 12-stranded DNA, you would have the natural ability to do what is called transmigration, which is blink in, blink out, and take your body with you to any space-time location and continue to experience source in different forms, in different fashions. And so that's what this original celestial human being body was created as, a master, beautiful, amazing, crowning jewel of all of creation. But what has happened in the morphogenetic field, the blueprint for matter to condense on of the 12-stranded DNA was key coded to the stargates. And so this master race, if you want to say, is key coded. There's specific DNA sequences that were key coded, and they were assigned as protectors of Mother Earth. And that's why this DNA has been so valuable, because the DNA is key coded, and whoever has this can control the stargates, which controls coming in and out of Mother Earth. And there were originally 12 original celestial human tribes seated on the 12 stargates, the 12 legions, if you want to call it. And as you start activating your upper stranded DNA, you might start remembering your time on the Pleiades, your time in fighting in the Orion War, your time in Lyra. Your cosmic ancestry, your cosmic birthright was freedom. Right? And so what happened? What happened, right? And so I'm not going to go too deeply into all of the history, because it would literally be like a 20-hour podcast. And, that's not really what it's all about. Okay. But 560 million years ago, Project Tyranesium 1 begins. There was a seeding, the original seeding. The 250 million years ago, on parallel Earth, human seeding 1 happened. Okay, and there's still bits and pieces of 5D Earth, right? And so people are finding, like fossils and things like that, right? And so the T1 seeding was made up of 12 subraces. The Brahman, the Draaman, the Antonai, the Triniton, the Azerton, the Celtos, from the word Celtic comes from. Adami, from which the word Adam Kadmon comes from. U-turn, Ceres, Nexac, Tai, and the Melchizedek, right? So all of these words have a cosmic origin. The T1 was split into 2 main strains, the Atlanteans, from which the word Atlantean comes from, the Lumians, Adam Kadmon, Lumians. So unfortunately, like when you see things start happening, what is already in order will always digress to not in order. And so there's this kind of history that happens, and the Alanians, right, sought control of Numanians, and they started messing with power generation of Tara, 5D Earth's core, right? And so whenever these things happen, like the Lumians, like they look to their, if you want to say, cosmic ancestors for help. So the Lumians asked for assistance from Syrian Council Harmonic Universe 2, the Syrians, which look to Elohim, harmonic universe 3. So you want to see harmonic universe 3, the Elohim, the oversoul, dimension 789. Tara is 7D Earth. I'm sorry, Gaia is 7D Earth. Tara is 5D Earth. So when 5D Earth is going through something, it asks for assistance from the Elohim, right? So there's a lot of different things that happened, but as they started pooling, from the crystal core, power generators, the Atlanteans got power hungry, right? And they started doing these experiments. Well, there was an impending Tara grid implosion. Many evaded to other star systems. And so 550 million years ago, the Atlantean deep underground power crystals exploded. The grid of 5D Earth Tara was blown apart. Tara detached from its morphogenetic field. And these fragments broke up into 12 pieces. And when a grid implodes and the morphogenetic fields of a planet explode, it loses its, if you want to call it, force, energy, power, vibration, frequency, oscillation falls, right? And so these fragments broke up into 12 pieces, which densified into planets in harmonic universe 1. Remember, density 1, harmonic universe 1 is dimension 1, 2, 3, and Earth is in harmonic universe 1. So 550 million years ago, Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Maldek, which is no longer here because it imploded, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, Nibiru, which our current scientists have not yet discovered, has a very long orbit, and the Sun, which was a harmonic universe 2 planet. Our Sun was a harmonic universe 2 planet, decreased in oscillation, and it fused with a harmonic universe 1 star, and this event is interwoven with other Earth events and recorded as the fall of man, the fall of Adam, the Adam Kadmon, or the flood, the fall of man, 5D to 3D. Okay? And a rescue mission was formulated. So these guardian alliances allow free will choice, and so things like this can happen, but they always... Source has a plan. Source always has a plan. So assistance was provided by Syrians, Palladians, Elohim, Lyrans, 12D, Lumians, Atlanteans, Ceres. And this consortium was known as the Covenant of Palador, working through the harmonic universe 5. So remember, harmonic universe 4 is dimension 10, 11, 12. Harmonic universe 5 is dimension 13, 14, 15, which is known as the Rishi. The Bruno Rishi, and further assistance by the Galactic Court, just known as the Raw Confederacy. So a lot of you might be saying like, oh, he's talking about these things. Yeah, but guess what? Like, I am talking about these things, and I am, some of these things are recorded in Voyagers 2 or on Ascension Dictionary or on Ascension Glossary. But, I call myself an experiential psychiatrist because I'm not talking about things that I haven't experienced. Remember, when you start activating your upper strand of DNA, cellular memory is released. And I'm telling you, a lot of these things, for example, in one of my ceremonies, your consciousness goes beyond a space or time. I also appealed to these councils. Because when you appeal, like you call it prayer, call it whatever you want. But I think it's important to know, who are you praying to? Do they have an agenda? For example, when biblical J9 was praying to the patriarchal slanted Elohim, yeah, well, obviously then you can call it Father God, our Father which art in heaven, our Father. And there's a patriarchal slant, even though the intention might be pure. So when you appeal, though, to these really, really high councils, Harmonic Universe 5, Bruno Rishi, they don't usually get involved. Why? Because below them there's the Elohim who are monitoring the Sirius, Harmonic Universe 2. Then, there's councils. And these people don't believe me when I talk about these things, but every once in a while, these councils actually show up in the ceremony. So I'm not talking about things I haven't experienced. So I'm not going to talk about a lot of these different things because it's really vast, this history. If you go on to delve deeper into it, you can look at Voyager's 2 or Ascension Dictionary, Google Ascension Dictionary. When grids blow apart, they lose portions of history stored in genetic cellular memory. So that's why these grids blow apart. A lot of people don't remember. When people don't remember, the people who control the media can create any type of history they want, any type of storyline they want. Like storylines of you need a savior outside of you. Like storylines of we evolved from apes. Right? So without this, the planet cannot evolve, ascend into the next harmonic universe. So just like an individual, in order to ascend into harmonic universe 2 or ascend to 5D, Tara, 5D Earth, we have to accrete frequency in our morphogenetic field and increase our frequency and accrete our DNA strand number 5 to go to, if you want to call it, Tara, 5D Earth, unless you're hosted. Same thing with Earth. Earth, Tara, 5D Earth, the grids blew apart. It decreased in oscillation. It went through a black hole and it now reformed, if you want to call it, redensified into harmonic universe 1, which I just described, the 12 planets. Well, these planets, why are people so infatuated with astrology? Because there's planetary influences. Even though these planets are far away, our cosmology, we understand Venus, dance, art, Jupiter, expansion, growth. They have an influence. The energy of the planets in orbit have an influence because at one point they were all in 5D Earth together. Right? But it decreased in frequency, fell through a black hole, and it re-densified, if you want to call it, in harmonic universe 1, separate as these planets. But in order to ascend, these other planets are also important because they hold the morphogenetic grid, the blueprint, and they have to increase in oscillation as well. And remember, when you're born, your chart says it has 5 Sagittarius, it has, Venus is in this house, whatever. Like, we're connected to these planets. And there's a history of why we are connected to this. So, but there was a rescue plan that was formulated for the lost souls of Tara. Why? Because the souls there also lost their morphogenetic field. So oftentimes, some of you light workers might understand this. When the portals are open, some of these lost souls are asking, can I use your portal to ascend? Right? So yeah, I don't want to go into this too deeply. But once again, do your own history. Don't believe a word I'm saying. But more importantly, start accreting your upper stranded DNA. For me, the quickest way that I found when I found this wisdom was in the original celestial human language, Anunnaki Mua, which is key coded. The sound, light, and symbols is key coded for the original celestial human being. You want to know why a chair was created and why it has certain marks on it? Ask the creator. They'll tell you, I put this part in because I wanted people to sit at this angle or whatever. Well, ask the original eternal life founders races, the Elohai, Seraphai, Brahmarama, right? It was very intelligent. The 12-stranded DNA was key coded for certain eternal life sounds. So when you speak a certain sound in the original Anunnaki Mua language, it's literally reactivating that part of the morphogenetic field. And if you do it consistently over a period of time, your DNA projects your hologram. For me, it was the quickest way that I found to reactivate, remember my true cosmic history and to reactivate from not, and you can spend time accreting DNA strand 4, the astral world, doing gratefulness, heart meditations, reaccreting, doing astral traveling. But why do that when you can run codes and frequencies straight from 12, 11, 10, 9 all the way down in a natural, gradual way? Or you can pump kundalini, dimensions 1 through 9, which live at the bottom of the spine. Boom, and if there's a chakra block, you'll have a healing crisis. Boom, and you'll raise dimension 1 through 9 and tickle your. But why do that from down up when you can run codes from 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5 in a natural, gradual way without having healing crises? right? And so that's why I created the 12-strand DNA program, because it worked for me. And it might not resonate with you. It's not for everyone. It's for me, I tend to believe it's for the advanced spiritual seeker who wants to rapidly self-realize and actualize, because that's what it did for me. Let's see here. So 550 to 250 million years ago, many species were seeded by harmonic universe 1 ETs. First of all, like, how cocky is it for humans to call anything that's not a human an ET? You know, like, we're not the only planet, we're not the only universe, we're not the only species. In fact, 550 to 250 million years ago, many species were seeded by harmonic universe 1 ETs. Plants, animals, insects. Also, some ether beings spent time here. So that was seeding 1. So a lot of these plants have been here a long, long, long time. And so, for example, when a mother and a father have a child, they seed this child, if you want to call it, and the child looks like them. Well, the same thing, these ET races seeded on Earth, plants, animals, insects, which look like them. So this was known as the T2 experiment, the 12 tribe seeding. Remember, I said there were 12 original celestial human tribes. Okay. And this was the 5 cloister races emerged, known as the Paladorians. These races were less dense and did not possess genderless. Their bodies contained 8 DNA strands that were active, and they were guardians for DNA evolution. The 5 cloister races were the Atlanteans, brown-skinned. So, DNA strand 2, Brunel, red skin. DNA strand number 3, Hebrew, white skin. DNA number 4, Melchizedek's, yellow skin. DNA number 5, Melchizedek, Uniseti, black skin. DNA strand number 6. So you wonder, red and yellow, black and white, all are precious in her sight. Where does these different races come from? Oh, here it is. T2 experiment, 12 tribe seeding. They were seeded on different areas. Okay. So I'm not going to go too deep into all of this because it's a lot. The pattern of the morphogenetic field appears as a standing wave of blue color with a pale shade of green. This blue flame is Earth's portion of Tara. So remember, like, for example, you guys might know, like, chakra 5, throat chakra, DNA strand number 5, Tara, 5D Earth. The blue flame, Earth's portion, Tara, 5D Earth, throat chakra, number 5. So there's a very intelligent numbers sequence, chakras, base 12 code, right? Earth, Universal Stargate 3, third chakra, people call it yellow. Own flame is orange gold, right? So all of these things, and that's why when I found this wisdom, and I studied about the chakras, and I studied about Kundalini, and I studied about Tibetan Buddhism, and I studied about Christianity, and then this wisdom always reinforces itself. It doesn't contradict itself. And the more I went into it, the more I started realizing the intelligence of Source, the mathematical code. It never contradicts itself, always reinforces itself. Tara's own flame is blue-green, known as the gates of ivory, the pearly gates. Oh, where does that come from? Re-entry into 5D Earth, the pearly gates, the blue-green flame. Gaia's own flame is violet gold. So Gaia is 7D Earth. Crown chakra, purple, 7 chakra, right? All these things start making sense. And so The first seeding of the third world, 25 million years to 5.5 million years ago, 5 cloister races entered Earth in different locations. Brown skin, yellow skin, white skin, black skin, red and yellow, black and white, all our precious inner sight. Each race physically created 6 male plus 6 female adult humans who bred to seed the Earth population at the time. Let me repeat that. 5 cloister races, red and yellow, black and white, entered Earth in different locations. Each race physically created 6 male plus 6 female adult humans who bred to seed the Earth population at the time. So where does male and female come from? Before this, it was genderless. But in this particular seeding, 25 million years ago to 5.5 million years ago, called the third world, male and female was created, right? And so you start understanding, oh, the Bible has taken portions of these things, male and female, created on, day 6, right? And it's taken portions of this history and reintegrated into, 80% truth, 20% distortion. So 60 humans, right? First emerged was the third root race, Lumanians, from which the Lemurians come from. Lumanians, 3D brown, were responsible for accumulating DNA strand 2, right? Second emerged was the fourth root race, Atlanteans, 3D red. And 5.5 million years ago, interbreeding with harmonic universe 1 ET. When interbreeding happens, it messes with the DNA genetic code, caused genetic digression, thus a loss of immortality and not able to transmute or ascend. And human seeding 1, there's been wars, was destroyed by electric wars. And remember, history repeats itself. Electric wars, a pure consciousness scalar wave battle. Well, guess what? It's still happening. Scalar wave, sound and light battle. The media, television, whoever controls the media, chemtrails, controls the frequency that is going in. It's proven that whoever controls the media can shut down the world in 2 weeks. Well, guess what? This has happened before. The human seeding 1 was destroyed by the electric wars. Basically, all hell broke loose. Electric wars of pure energy fought in the local galaxy and atmosphere. Why? Because on a certain level, the councils get involved. They're like, no, you're not going to genetically digress our children. You're not going to rape and force breed to obtain the DNA coding that you need because you want to control Mother Earth and drink the blood and take our children and child sex traffic them. There comes a certain point where the parents say no. And the electric wars broke out. Earth was almost a goner until the harmonic universe 5, Brenau, intervened. Remember harmonic universe 5, dimensions 13, 14, 15, right? So 3.7 million years ago, there was human seeding 2. And 848,800 years ago, human seeding 2 was destroyed by the 1,000-year war. So there's been, those 2 seedings were destroyed, right? And then, there's a whole history behind all this. Like when, for example, 950,000 years ago, the Nephilim, who were the children of the Anunnaki, through interbreeding, they were advanced, superior, and they dominated humans. So interbreeding with humans in certain, if you want to call it, they're advanced beings. And so, for example, the story that we come from apes, where does that come from? Who would promote that type of story? And why? So the 1,000-year war broke out between the Nephilim, the Ceres, the Elohim, and the Anunnaki, intergalactic war. And the Treaty of El Anu agreed that the Nephilim would not return to Earth and that another Anunnaki human hybrid would be allowed to create what is called the Anu. This treaty also created many divisions within the Anunnaki. So the Anunnaki are not all bad, just like all humans are not all bad. There is no bad or good. really. Everyone's playing their perfect role on a certain level of consciousness. On one side, we have the Law of One followers, the Syrian Blue, Sirius A, and the Kentarians, Sirius B, and the Syrian Council of Harmonic Universe 2. So a lot of us, when we start waking up our six-stranded DNA, you're going to remember, oh, Sirius B. A lot of us, the same way out, ascension, is the same way we came down. So Andromeda, Universal Stargate 9, Sirius B, Universal Stargate 6. It's where Jeshua, spent time and came from. In order to regulate things a little, the Ra Confederacy and the Syrian Council applied the 666 Templar Axian seal on the Draconians, reptilians, as well as the Anunnaki resistance. Not all of them, just a part of them, the Anunnaki resistance, meaning neither could successfully interbreed with any other species other than their own. So when this interbreeding happens and the gene line, the DNA coding is, if you want to say, intermixed and intermingled, sometimes a seal is placed, the 666. Where does that come from in the Bible, right? So as I started studying these things, oh, this is the actual history and the science of where these things come from. It's a seal on the DNA, on certain DNA strands, on the 6 substrand, 666, so that if you want to say, because you can't allow certain DNA strands if you don't accrete to enter into, you got to maintain the purity of certain regions. And this brought, when I first learned this history, I was very distraught. Wow, man, like they just allow humans to be fucked with. And every single time they allow. But there's a genius behind source. Yes, in this particular universal time matrix, duality has been allowed to fulfill the original intention of one, to know its source, to know itself better through experiencing duality. But in order to ascend, certain DNA strands have seals on them where you have to purify the DNA in order to ascend into 5D Earth. There's a purity that is maintained. There's a genius behind this. Right? And so there's also, if you want to call it Marata Kumbha Vectus, invocation of the D12 avatar. When you go to a certain frequency, right, there's a protected space. Inevoca uniplium bhavekai, right? And so the Akasha, there's certain spaces that have been protected by source. You can't enter into that. It's protected. It's pure. And that's where we come from, a lot of us. And we have to purify our DNA, reaccrete our upper stranded DNA to be able to either, some people say ascension is not possible because there's been a block at, you want to call it, the 12th Lyra was exploded, and there was a whole thing where base 10 mathematics was applied, and there's a break there. But remember, there's different timelines. And so some people think that we have to go through the core of Mother Earth. We cannot ascend anymore. Right? But there's certain timelines that exist, right? And you can appeal to these councils, as you'll see. And they listen sometimes. And there's ways, different timelines that exist. So there was an Earth human race seeding 3, right? 2 seedings. And from my awareness and knowledge and understanding, this is the final seeding of the original celestial human being. So a lot of these things happen. Like 849,000 years ago, the sphere of Amente was removed from Earth's core. Remember, that's a portal bridge between pre-fall Earth Tara, D5, and D2 and Earth. So a bridge to be able to ascend back to 5D Earth. Because a portal bridge between D2 core and the sphere of Amente in the Andromeda galaxy was constructed to assist reseeding on Earth. So how is the human third seeding done? This portal bridge between D2 core Earth and D9 Andromeda galaxy, Universal Stargate 9, a portal bridge to seed human seeding 3. This portal bridge was called, wait for it, the Arch of the Covenant of Palador, also which became known as the Ark of the Covenant, which human seeding 3 was seeded. a D5 seal was placed on the Ark of the Covenant, making it a one-way door where souls could descend to Earth but could not return unless they had the D5 gene coding, known as the Shield of the Ark. So it was a one-way. You can enter into Earth, so it's a choice, right, to come to Earth. And so you can come through this arc, and seeding 3 was done, D2 core Earth, D9 Andromeda. So a lot of us, you remember Andromeda, M131 galaxy, right, came through this portal to Earth in seeding number 3. Remember, the same way out is the same way we came in. But a D5 seal was placed. Like, for example, you can't go back up unless you purify your DNA strands, because there's a certain level of purity that needs to remain. So seal, it was a one-way door in, and in order to go back up, right, the shield would be released once 8% of the living population had assembled the 5th DNA strand. The shield, back up, would be released once 8% of the living population had assembled the 5th DNA strand. So it's one thing to go to 5D, right? And shout out to my, brothers and sisters out there, who have created beautiful, amazing programs. I think, Anunnaki created, follow him on Instagram. He's a good Essene brother out there spitting some good wisdom. 4D University, right? I think is the name of his program. A beautiful sister out there created another, I forgot what it's called. G created a program, a academy, Ascension or Star Academy or something. Paul Check, Living in 4D, right? So there's, to go to 5D, we can have these big experiences, plant medicine journeys, and we can go and have pieces of our upper stranded DNA shown to us, and we can, but it's integration is the key. Can you hold it for long periods of time? Because if 8% of the population holds that 5th DNA strand, it's one thing to go there and have a brief moment and return. But in this 3D world, can we hold that frequency and start really living in 5D on a consistent basis? That DNA strand, all 12 substrands have to be accreted. 8% of the population is what this perspective is saying. That's not easy to do. Because once you enter back into traffic, LA traffic on the 405, once you start re-entering into family reunions and weddings, and you start realizing the reality of the 3D system, the financial system, and you still have to live on the 3D, can we maintain a 5D, 8% of us, frequency, hold it for long periods of time? And that's why these conscious communities, I feel, are so important. A new system where we can hold this, where everybody gets to do what they love, what they were created to do through their human design, what they chose to do. Some of them are healers. Some of them love organization. Some of us love permaculture, right? And creating these cultures where we can consistently maintain. When one of us forgets, there's 11 others in the soul pod who gently remind them and sing them their soul song and hold their hand and help them remember who they are. We are love. We are all connected. And recreate these 5D cities of light or hubs. Shout out to Lunala, beautiful, amazing, divine mother, sister who's doing this. Right? In order to do this, though, those who love peace must learn how to communicate and collaborate better than those who love war. And it takes a high level of consciousness, because there's a lot of communities trying to be formed. Then I've seen it so many times where, but this person pointing fingers and the group encryption breaks. So it takes a really high level of commitment, unwavering commitment to love, to really exit 3D and to live in 4D for longer periods of time. A sacred devotion in every area of my life. And I hold myself accountable to this. And I want brothers and sisters in tribe, when I'm out of alignment, to check my back blind spots, to help me remember, because I forget sometimes. and to come back into that frequency of oneness, the sacred law of one, for longer and longer periods of time, to hold that. And no judgment when we forget. We gently remind each other. We have regular periods of cadences of accountability where we communicate, where everybody is equal, holarchy, circle, not a triangle, but everybody has a different role. Just like the Elohim oversee. There's councils of 12 that are showing up in my ceremonies. Who are your 12? Imagine waking up one morning and being surrounded by a soul family of 11 people who know absolutely everything about you. Transparency. Good and quote unquote bad. There is no good or bad. And they unconditionally love you. There's a safety in that. But in order to really receive that, we have to learn how to unconditionally love ourselves, especially the parts that we thought were unlovable, especially that DNA coding from the patriarchal line, which we've intended to integrate and love and forgive completely, fully, wholly. So the Earth grid frequency would rise, igniting, activating the sphere of Amenti to release, descend back to Earth's core, which would take approximately 2,000 years. Once this had occurred, the blue flame of Amenti would be released, a 12-year process to merge with the core sphere of Amenti. Once this was achieved, the ascension portals to Tara, 5D Earth, would be reopened. Upon returning to Earth for the third seeding was discovered some survivors from the second seeding. A lot of this is just history, right? Because there's new timelines that are being written right now. So take what resonates, leave what doesn't. In general, up to now, the Anunnaki were with the Law of One, except for a small faction known as the Anunnaki Resistance. So not all Anunnaki are quote-unquote bad. Anunnaki Resistance rebels who were the troublemakers. Technological gifts were given allowed by other stellar races. For example, crystalline power generators. And I'm going to skip over a lot of this because I've talked about this in some of my previous podcasts. The Ark of the Covenant for a while was located in Atlantis. And when the Ark of the Covenant, remember, third seeding was done through a portal bridge between D2 Earth Core all the way to D9, Andromeda Universal Stargate 9. And when that's open, guess what? Ninth dimensional, sixth dimensional, the soul of Mother Earth, fourth, fifth, and sixth, the Tara, the 5D Earth, 7D Gaia, you can send frequencies, right, into multi-dimensional frequencies into the landmass. You're going to have access to 7D technologies, 5D technologies, right, Atlantean technologies. If you're following the Law of One and you have access to your soul, that area thrives. And for a long period of time, Atlantis thrived. As a lot of people are seeing in vision, that time, it was beautiful, like communication with the dolphins, telepathy, amazing technologies. Man, for a long period of time, a very, very beautiful period of time. But in 51,750 years ago, the stability of the Ark of the Covenant was breached, right? And so through a lot of history, and you can review some of my older podcasts or read, Voyagers 2, the Ark of the Covenant, Atlantis blew up, okay? And they were running like this, if you want to call it Templar Solar Initiates, patriarchal slant. It started running excessive power generation from the core of Mother Earth, and boom, Atlantis blew up, and the Ark of the Covenant was moved to Egypt, and Egypt thrived for a little bit, and that's why there's all these hieroglyphs of ET contact, right? Because the Ark of the Covenant opened up that portal. There was a lot of ET contact. You can come into Mother Earth from Universal Stargate 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, right? And so there was a lot of different ET contact, and the Ankhs, right? Why do you see these hieroglyphs of the Ankhs? The Ankhs were charged with the Ark of the Covenant, ultra high frequency. Imagine charging with a multi-dimensional frequency. You can do anti-gravity, right? Anti-gravity, and that's how the pyramids were built. And there was like mistaken, people think like the Ankhs were the Ark of the Covenant. No, it wasn't. It was charged with it. And you can imagine if you can send ninth dimensional frequencies through this amazing tool, the healing ability that is possible. And so I won't go too deep into this, but like, yeah, the pyramids were built, and this whole history and infatuation in Egypt. But like, remember there was a blank slate technology on the human DNA, so a lot of people, up until recently, didn't remember their time in Egypt until you start accreting your upper strand of DNA. And that's why, like, a lot of these people, when they, for example, go in the podcast with Robert Edward Grant, they spend time in the King's Chamber. It was the Ark of the Covenant was located below the Great Pyramid for a period of time, and ascension passages, which J12, 12th level avatar known as Jeshua, were ascending people in and out, the blue flame Melchizedek's, right? So there's this energy that is stored in the Great Pyramid. So Robert Edward Grant said when Napoleon, Alexander the Great, spent one night in the King's Chamber in the Great Pyramid, they left and they were changed. They no longer wanted to conquer, right? Because the Great Pyramid was used as an interstellar access to your soul. You remember the sacred law of one. You remember there are no enemies. You remember, don't fight the system. Don't try to conquer. Power hungry, power hungry, power hungry. The need for greed leads to more need. It's never satisfied, the thirst for power. Never. Only the soul can fill the hole. And so they spent the night connecting, and they come out and say, you can't, words don't describe. A lot of people come out of my ceremonies after they reconnect with their soul. They can't speak about it. There's no words. But hopefully you leave changed, because once you connect with your soul, once you know, you cannot not know. Oh, there's a certain frequency where we are all one. What I have done to the least of them, I have done unto me. Don't fight the system. Create a new one. What I judge becomes the shadow. I am what I judge. The sacred law of one. And what I judge will be attracted more and more into my hologram until I clear that genetic mutation with, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. But there comes a time where healing is also continuous, but it's like it's time. Step into your power. I am healthy, healed, whole, and complete, imperfectly perfect. Let's focus and shift our attention now onto collaborating, communicating, forgiving, and creating a new earth. And it should be fun. And that's why I always constantly remind myself. When the explosion in Atlantis, it caused Earth to tilt on its axis, right? And you'll see it right now. Earth has a tilted axis. So where do all these things come from? That's why the true history for me is fun. It's fun to understand this history. Knocking down the pyramid D4, which is Universal Stargate 4. Earth is Stargate number 4. Egypt, Stargate number 4, heart chakra. It knocked it out of its alignment when Atlantis exploded. With the vortex systems of Sirius B and several other planetary systems to which it had been originally aligned. And so, in Egypt, things prospered and interstellar transportation until, a lot of different things happened, right? So now I'm gonna move to a little bit of history here. In 50,000 BC, the Lemurian Holocaust, the Jehovian Anunnaki, and their Anu Melchizedek Illuminati humans infiltrated Lemuria, which allowed Dracos, reptilian infiltration, which culminated in the destruction of the Mojave Pacific continent, also which was known as Lemuria. So that was the Lemurian Holocaust in 50,000 BC. In 28,000 BC, the Atlantean Holocaust, the Sirius A, Jehovian, Palladian, Nibirian, Luciferian, Anunnaki, and their Anu Melchizedek Illuminati humans attempt to seize inner Earth and Atlantis, culminating in the cataclysm that reduced Atlantic continent to 3 island nations, Bruja, Nohasa, and Lohas. from my understanding, it's where the present day Bermuda Islands are located. And they were doing this, the Templar Anu, patriarchal slanted, were forcing excessive power through crystal generators. So in 25,500 BC, the Luciferian rebellion, the Nibirian Marduk Anunnaki race line seized control of Nibiru and D4 Solar Stargate 4, which began the Anunnaki race unity dominion campaign, and they planted the Nibirian Dyadic Crystal Grid Planetary Templar Control Network at Stonehenge, England. So from Nibiru, which, remember, our current scientists have not discovered yet, it has a very long orbit, part of our solar system. They were running reverse frequencies through Stonehenge, England. These giant rocks were literally transmuting reverse frequencies, and through the stones, which, Stargate number 10, they were running reverse frequencies. Now, why is this important? Whoever controls the grids of Mother Earth controls the ley lines of Mother Earth. The ley lines are, imagine it to be like the neural network, the brain of Mother Earth, which carry the electromagnetic frequencies. So, for example, when our children are trying to have positive thoughts, and through Nibiru, through Stonehenge, they're running reverse electromagnetic frequencies on the brain of Mother Earth. Well, the reverse spin can cause negative thoughts. They can mind control through this. And then we diagnose them with schizophrenia. And then we put them on mind-numbing medications. And then they have side effects. And then we throw them into psychiatric hospitals and jails. So that's why it's really important to understand the history and to understand why sacred grid work is important. To run the right frequencies, eternal life frequencies, on the grid of Mother Earth, the brain of Mother Earth. Whoever controls the brain of Mother Earth, the ley lines, controls Mother Earth. There's been a long battle for this. In 22,326 BC, the Eoni Massacre, United Palladian, Nibirian, Luciferian, Anunnaki, Marduk Anunnaki, decimate the Eoni Magi Grail races at Kauai, Hawaii location, and seize major territories of Brua and Nohasa Atlantis, sending Atlantean, Semoli, Brua, and Druidic Nohasa Magi Grail King races into exile to Lohas, Atlantis, and Ionia, Italy, Greece. So, Luciferian Anunnaki and their homies literally massacred innocent Magi races at Kauai. And why is Kauai, Hawaii so important? Kauai, Hawaii is Q Site 12. So every Stargate has a Q Site. They're connected underneath the Earth. Stargate 12 is Montsegur, France. So Kauai, Hawaii is a very, very important piece of real estate. It's connected to Stargate number 12. Remember, I created an online DNA activation program which runs frequencies from 12 to 11 to 10. Remember, the Kabbalah tree of life is original eternal life is 12. Each one is a DNA strand. So it's also on Earth. Kauai, Hawaii activates Stargate 12. So if you run frequencies from Kauai, Hawaii, it's going to go to Montsegur, France, and then from Chakra 12 of Earth, Stargate 12, all the way down to 11, to 10, to 9, to 8, to 7, to 6, to 5, right? And each line on the Kabbalah Jewish mysticism is supposed to be 12, bioregenesis grid, is how Source Force moves through the Merkabah. So when you activate Kauai, Hawaii, it's activating Montsegur, France, which is flowing to all of the Stargates of Mother Earth. So Kauai, Hawaii, there was a massacre, Eoni massacre, that was done, and it sent the Magi Grail lines. Remember the 12 original celestial human tribes? Each one, if you want to call it, it's a Magi Grail line. They have the coding for the Stargates, protectors of Mother Earth. So these Magi Grail lines in the history have been systematically decimated, interbreeded with, because they're trying to acquire the DNA coding to control Mother Earth, which these Magi Grail kings possess, and queens. And once you start activating your upper standard DNA, you might be called to go to Kauai, Hawaii. You might be called to go to different places, whether you're aware of it or not, to pick up and drop off codes. 144,000 have arrived. Stars in my mind have aligned, and enough of the 144,000, if you want to call it, star seeds, you want to call it, on service contracts to humanity, embody their upper stranded DNA at a certain and consistently. Remember what can happen. (21,900 BC), Loha, Celtic, Druidic freeze-out, Palladian, Nibirian, Luciferian, Anunnaki, and Galactic Federation intentionally collapsed the firmament hydro suspension field over Lohas Atlantis to force Magi Grail King lines away from Lohas Stargate 11. And that culminated in the 21,900 BC to 14,000 BC glacial period. So scientists are discovering, oh, there was a glacial period. Well, how did that happen? I just told you. Palladian, Nibirian, Luciferian, Anunnaki, and Galactic Federation intentionally collapsed the firmament hydro suspension field over Lohas Atlantis. And they forced the Magi Grail King, Tribe 11, out. So yes, they did that, but why? It's the Magi Grail King. They want the DNA coding. They want to get rid of the Magi Grail Kings who are protectors of Mother Earth so that they can have control of Mother Earth. This one's kind of interesting. 20,000 BC, Viserys Sachion invasion, from the word Viking comes from. Alpha Centauri, Marduk, Necromaton, Anunnaki, and their Viserys Anu Melchizedek race, and Palladian, Nibirian, Samjazi, Luciferian, Anunnaki, and their Sachion Anu Melchizedek race invade angelic human tribe 6. Vikings invasions. And exiled Celtic Lohas, Druidic Nohasa, Atlantic Magi Grail King. Once again, why? To exile the Magi Grail King lines in the Caucasus Mountains, Russia, which is a Stargate, in attempt to destroy the Grail lines. So on planet, you watch all these movies about, the Vikings. You watch all these movies, and Hollywood has done what it has done with it, right? But this, to exile the Magi Grail King lines who had the coding, the original celestial human tribes who had the coding for the Stargates, the DNA coding, to protect Mother Earth. It's a battle for Mother Earth. And so you start realizing, yeah, I know I said a lot of different things, off planet, controlling on planet. And history repeats itself, unless we learn from the past. Begin intentionally concealment of Celtic and Druidic Atlantic Magi Grail King and Angelic Human 6, Tribe 6 racial identity. The Viserys races become known as the Vikings, the Sachions as the Saxons, both groups of, painting themselves blue in honor of the Luciferian Alpha Omega Centaur race. In order to hide knowledge of the Atlantean Magi Grail King lines, the Blue Raiders were later falsely identified in historical records as the Celtics. The Blue Raiders were later falsely identified in historical records as the Celtics of Ireland, the Druidics as the Druids. So the original celestial human tribes, the pure tribe race, right? And a lot of you will understand that there are pure Druids, there are pure Celtics, the original Magi Grail King lines who hold that coding, but history has been falsified to make them appear as brutal, violent, prone, conquering. Actually, no, the original Celtic Druidic line were pure Magi Grail King lines who were protectors of, as they were assigned to be, of Mother Earth. So in 10,500 BC, the Luciferian conquest, the Atlantean islands of Brua and Noahasa fell to the Palladian, Nibirian, Luciferian, and Sirius A. Jehovian Anunnaki. The Atlantean conspiracy develops a high-level organization I'm going to skip over some of this stuff. 9600 BC, 650 BC, the Luciferian covenant. This is important. The Palladian, Nibirian, Samjazi, Luciferian Anunnaki. Sirius B, Marduk Anunnaki, which are the Anunnaki, Omicron, Dragon Moth race. Enlil, Marduk, Enlil, Anki. All of you out there worshiping these races or strains or history and telling that people that they're the creator gods. Enlil, Anki. Well, I'm going to read here. Toth, Enki, Zephalim, which are the Anunnaki and Zeta, and Marduk, Necromaton, Luciferian, Galactic Federation, and Jehovian Urantia and their respective Anunnaki Melchizedek races. So all of these races enter full alliance under the one world order anti-Christos agenda formally mandated through the Luciferian covenant. Where does the word Lucifer come from? Oh, all of these races came together saying, even those who love war are coming together and saying, hey, let's form this one world anti-Christos agenda. And remember, Christos means when you activate your 12-stranded DNA, as was originally intended to be done at the age of 33. Anti-Christos, they didn't want that to happen, so they're going to come together to form a one world order agenda formally mandated through the Luciferian covenant. The Omicron, Draconian, and Odedicron reptilian races of Orion form second competing Orion Draconian one world order agenda. Main Sirius A Jehovian Anunnaki. So like Draconians are operating primarily sometimes through the Roman Catholic Church. And race from third competing Jehovian one world Anunnaki operating primarily through the Protestant Church. So, all this stuff makes, and it's not all good or bad. Remember, I'm not saying anything's good or bad. It's just good to understand the history of where this stuff comes from. They all started forming one world agenda and anti-Christos agendas and falsifying history, editing history. In 9558 BC, the Atlantean flood occurred. The Galactic Federation orchestrated the Atlantean flood in an attempt to take over Giza, Stargate 4, Great Pyramid Teleport Station, and its true Ark of the Covenant, Andromeda Portal Passage. So you see in history all these wars about that, trying to obtain the Ark of the Covenant. Toth, Enki, Anu, Melchizedek, Illuminati humans took over Bruja Atlantis to follow initiatives of the Semjazi Luciferian Anunnaki, Lords of Kings. So I'm not going to go over all of this stuff, but I'm not saying that Toth is bad, but in history, Toth stole CDD plate 11 and wrote the Emerald Tablets from it and took credit over it and has been, reincarnating as Hermes, as many, many, many things. There's a lot of wisdom there because he stole it from the Emerald Covenant and took, but he's been sometimes in past lives calling himself a creator god. He was not the creator. We saw the history right here. But it's beautiful because on this timeline, remember when a soul comes in, it comes in on different timelines. In this timeline, this is the timeline we waited for. Where that timeline, through pure race strains who hold that coding, are re-encrypting that DNA coding, are rewriting history, rewriting the stars, the story of Toth, the story of Jesus, the story of all these different things are simultaneously existing on this timeline. So the story is yet to be written. This is the history. And history repeats itself unless we learn from the past. In 9540 BC, the Sirius B Maharaji Blue Human Emerald Covenant races give the rod and the staff Stargate tools in the Ark of the Covenant gold box to Magi Grail King lines of Earth to keep open contact with inner Earth races via Earth's portal system. Luciferian, Jehovian, and Draconian quest for possession of the Ark tools begins, as does intentional falsification and eradication of angelic human historical record intentional falsification and eradication of angelic human historical record to conceal the knowledge and location of Loha Stargate 11, the lands of which survived the Atlantean flood. So I know a lot of us, some of us, are remembering our time in Atlantis and also rewriting that timeline. I just got back from a trip from Azores, Portugal, where we were, healing that timeline. So a lot of these things were able to rewrite history in this particular timeline. 8900 BC, the Sumerian invasion. Luciferian and Jehovian Anunnaki and Draconian races and their Anu Melchizedek regions all raid angelic human tribe 10. Resettlements of Sumerian, Remember human tribe 10, Stargate number 10, Iraq, Iran. There's been a long ongoing conflict for this land. Luciferian and Jehovian Anunnaki and Draconian races raided in 8900 BC human tribe 10 resettlements of Sumerian and surrounding territories, Iraq and Iran, in quest for Stargate 10. Why is there so many wars in that area? Stargate 10. Off-planet controlling on-planet. Portals in and out of Mother Earth. And control over the Ark of the Covenant gold box tools. Semjasi Luciferian Anunnaki lines as Sumerian Larsa kings. Jehovian Anunnaki lines as Hassa kings. And Midianite Hyksos kings. I'm going to reread that. Jehovian Anunnaki lines as Hassa kings and Midianite Hyksos kings. We're getting biblical. Midianite Hyksos kings, Jehovian Anunnaki lines, Marduk Anunnaki and Draconians as Marduk Anunnaki and Draconians as Babylonian dragon kings, Toth Enki Anunnaki as Snake Brotherhood kings, and evidence has been found in Sumeria as the Larsa Kings List tablets. In 8400 BC, Egyptian invasion. Toth Enki Zephalim Anunnaki and their Brua Atlantis and Anu Melchizedeks raid Egypt from Sumeria, overthrowing the Saris Egyptian pre-dynastic Rael King lines as the Osiris King line. Enlil, Odedicron, Anunnaki combine, creating the Osiris, Isis, Horus King line. Semjasi, Luciferian, Anunnaki, Sumerian, Larsa kings combine, creating the Egyptian Scarab King. That's why you see all these beetles from the Egyptian Scarab King line that dominated dynastic Egyptian history. In competition with the Marduk Anunnaki Draconian Agenda Set Kings line with Galactic Federation assistance, Jehovian Anunnaki, Anu Melchizedek, Midianite Hyksos King lines later invade in 1670 BC, leading to the Exodus in 1476 BC under Thutmose III. So this is the real Exodus. Galactic Federation assistance, Jehovian Anunnaki, Anu Melchizedek, Midianite Hyksos King lines later invade in 1670 BC, leading to the Exodus in 1476 BC. So there's a whole history and from what happened in Egypt up until now, right? And if you want to read more about it, go into Voyagers 2, page 323. In 7500 BC, Knights Templar invasion, Luciferian Covenant Knights Templar, Luciferian Covenant Anunnaki races raid Celtic and Druidic Magi Grail Kings races, once again raiding the Magi Grail King races that returned to Lohas Atlantis territories in 13,000 BC from exile in the Caucasus Mountains, Russia. Remember, they were exiled. Well, they returned, and that now they're being invaded again by the Luciferian Knights Templar, forced interbreeding between Nibirian, Toth, Inki, Palladian, Nibirian, Samjazi, Luciferian, and Alpha, Omega, Centauri, Marduk, Necromaton, Luciferian, Anunnaki. Forced interbreeding, of the Magi Grail King lines for Illuminati race DNA template upgrade. So check this out. For example, if there were, a bunch of females holding the Magi Grail King DNA template, which is key coded for the Stargates, well, guess what? A lot of these off-planet ET races, which are trying to control Mother Earth, do not have this DNA coding. And so through forced interbreeding, and so oftentimes you'll see, oftentimes these race lines don't even know what they're doing. So when you look at narcissists, for example, interbreeding with these soft angelic races, I mean, with total compassion, they don't even know what they're doing. Race, raping, the DNA coding for the DNA coding. It's in their ancestry. It was happening in Egypt, right? Forced interbreeding. And a lot of, sisters and queens from that time who hold that DNA lineage remember that and are still healing from that time, because time is simultaneous. Yeah, the cellular memory of this forced interbreeding with huge beings. I'm not just speaking this right, because in my ceremony sometimes, they go into a foreign place, this place, and they're healing these lineages of what happened in that timeline in Egypt. And I don't want to go too deep into this, right? In 3650 BC, there were the Mayan raids. The Mayans held DNA coding. Magi Grail King lines, they were raided, and the history distorted. And so this is like a continuous thing. In 3470 BC, the Babylon massacre from word Tower of Babel, scrambling of the human DNA. The Galactic Federation and Luciferian, Palladian, Nibirian, and Anunnaki races, they stole the Ark of the Covenant. And so there's a whole history about Babel, recorded in the Bible as the story of Babel. They scrambled the natural language patterns, which was recorded at the Tower of Babel. In 2024 BC, there was the Dead Sea Conquest. The Galactic Federation and Luciferian Anunnaki races stole the Ark of the Covenant again and launched a world dominion campaign in Babylonia, extending into the Dead Sea area between Israel and Jordan. They destroyed the Sumerian cities once located in the Dead Sea region. And this was recorded in the Bible as the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. But once again, you see, they were trying to steal the Ark of the Covenant gold toolbox, the Magi Grail King lines. The Magi Grail King lines retrieved the Ark of the Covenant box and tools, preventing spreading of the Anunnaki world dominion. In 1670 BC to 1550 BC, the Hyksos invasion, Midianite Hyksos king Jehovian, Anu Melchizedek's cross with the Luciferian Knights Templar, Anu Melchizedek's from Saqqara, Egypt, they infiltrate Egypt from 2668 BC and finally take over the Egyptian dynasty as Hyksos kings in 1670 BC. 1550 BC, draconian agenda, Pharaoh Amos deposes the last Hyksos king, Pharaoh Kamos, leading to the 1476 BC Hyksos Exodus. The Exodus, right? I know when you read in the Bible, you're going to read a certain thing, but it was the Hyksos kings. They're not even recorded. Why? Because whoever controls history erases history and rewrites it in the way they want to rewrite it. But this is where the Exodus happened. 1476 BC, Hyksos Exodus under draconian agenda, Pharaoh Thutmose III. Under Galactic Federation direction, Hyksos intend to invade and destroy angelic human Hebrew tribe 2 in Israel. You start putting the pieces together. Israel. Why does Israel play a certain important time? Why are there so many wars there? Oh, under Galactic Federation direction, the Hyksos, which were replaced, and now everybody knows them as the Jews, but the Hyksos intend to invade and destroy angelic human tribe 2 in Israel. So in 1459 BC, the Israel Crusade, the Hyksos Exodus happened under instruction by the Galactic Federation and Luciferian Anunnaki to use the stolen Ark of the Covenant gold box, rod and staff tools to destroy Hebrew angelic human tribe 2. They intend to claim Israel as the promised land. So where do these biblical stories come from? They intend to claim Israel as their promised land by destroying Hebrew angelic human tribe 2 and beginning of intended global dominion, pole shift, Luciferian covenant agenda. And in 1458 BC, Hatshepsut invasion occurs. And remember, I'm telling you these history things, but in my ceremony, Hatshepsut, these things are occurring in my ceremony. So I'm not just speaking from history. Like, we're rewriting history. And I want to say also about the Knights Templar. There was a pure version of the Knights Templar. So this I know the history is talking about the Luciferian Knights Templar, and they were trying to get one world order dominion, but there was a pure version, and these versions are not talked about or spoken about. But I'm also meeting these with past life remembrance of the pure version of the Knights Templar, who are really here to protect Earth. So nothing is good or bad. It's just not. When I first heard this, like, oh, fuck the Anunnaki. No, there's certain different factions of different races, right? And in 1353 BC, the fall of Akhenaten. I mean, I got to tell you guys, by this time I've met, I don't even know, three different brothers claiming that they're a past life of Akhenaten, right? And there are soul fractals, so I'm not saying it's wrong, but I'm just saying, like, there's simultaneous time, and we're rewriting history. In 906 BC, I thought this was interesting. The fall of Solomon's temple. Remember King Solomon's temple, written about in the Bible? King Solomon was from the Hyksos Anu Melchizedek, Ceres Egyptian Magi Grail line. He was son of Hyksos King David, and he was guided by the Galactic Federation to use the stolen Ark of the Covenant, gold box tools, to destroy Hebrew angelic human tribe 2 races in Israel to claim the promised land and advance global dominion. Palladian, Ceres, Emerald Covenant races of Alcyone intervened directly with the beam ship, intending to teleport Ark, box, and tools out of Solomon's temple and return it to Magi Grail King protection, preventing Solomon's assault on Hebrews and advancement of the pole shift agenda. Galactic Federation attempts to teleport Ark, box to their Palladian ship, but miscalculate, destroying Solomon's temple completely with a photo-radionic wave beam. Palladian Ceres retrieve the Ark box and prevent pole shift agenda. So that's how Solomon's temple was destroyed. I know those who control history are going to tell you a different story, right, for their own agenda. But those who have no agenda, here, I'll read it again. Galactic Federation attempts to teleport the Ark box, the Ark, remember, located in the Holy of Holies, to their Palladian ship, but miscalculate, destroying Solomon's temple completely with a photo-radionic wave beam. And in 26 BC, the Roman invasion, right? So the Roman church gets involved. Omicron Draconian legions of Orion move their Anu Melchizedek Illuminati races into political power. The Roman church comes into political power. How did that happen? Well, I'm just telling you how. Within the Ionian Empire of Italy, and you hear about the unspoken families in Italy who are really controlling, right? Here it is. Deposing of angelic human tribe 5 of Italy and Ionian exiled Celtic, Druidic, and Seminole Atlantean and Magi Grail kings, once again trying to destroy the Magi Grail king lines to create the stronghold of the Roman Empire dominion, progressively infiltrate and transpose their race identity over the angelic human tribe 5 and Magi Grail lines Ionians of Italy and begin corruption of the Ionian Grail King's sacred CDT plate spiritual teachings to create the foundations of the Church of Rome, Catholic religious control dogma political machine. In 23 AD, the Essene Divide Galactic Federation unites groups of Luciferian Hyksos King and Jehovian Hassa King to raid Emerald Covenant mission of Magi Grail King Essene's Jeshua, John the Baptist, and Miriam in Tel El Amarna, Egypt. Due to the Essene Divide raids, Jeshua's Grail King Essenes are unable to fulfill intended mission of disengaging the Niberian Diotic crystal grid to free Solar Stargate 4 and Earth Stargate 11 to prepare for the 2000 to 2017 stellar activation cycle and scheduled planetary Christos realignment mission. So in 23 AD, there was an Essene Divide. The Essenes, Dolores Cannon writes about the Essenes. The Jeshua was part of the Essene Brotherhood. Remember, there was different types of Essenes, right? And, oftentimes you'll find some of their writings, the Dead Sea Scrolls, and they were protecting a part of the CDT plates. But once again, they were divided by the Jehovian Hassa King, Anu Melchizedek, and Luciferian Hyksos King. But here's the thing, I'm not just speaking these things. When I was given a talk at the World Economic Forum, House of Trust, not the main World Economic Forum, there's light workers gathered together. They call it Undavos. Right down the street, New Earth architects are gathered during the same World Economic Forum meetings. And, I'm just sitting there, I gave a talk, and after the talk, this sister comes up to me and we're just talking. And in our talking, you're my Essene brother. I didn't say anything. And she says a prayer in a foreign language. I say a prayer. So the Essenes, remember, time is simultaneous, right? And so some of you may remember your time with the Essenes, and you still carry that coding. And so remember, a lot of what I'm saying is, yes, these divisions happen. Yes, these corruptions happen. But a lot of us are here carrying those codes, rewriting history on this timeline. So in 325 AD, the Council of Nicaea happens. You can watch my previous videos. The Roman, who was there, the Illuminati races governing the Roman Empire joined forces with the Galactic Federation, the Palladian, Nibirian, Anunnaki, 80% truth, 20% distortion. They create a religious control dogma known as currently as the Bible. Anti-Christiac One World Order, Dominion agenda during the 2000 to 2000. They're going for One World Order, preparing for that. 608, Arthurian Grail Quest. Remember, King Arthur is born, the Knights of the Round Table. They're continuing Jeshua's mission, the quest for the Holy Grail, which, is within, also without, which the Stargates, right? So they were here. Excalibur held the rod, the Stargate opening tools. And so this whole thing happens in 1244 AD, the Albigensian Crusade, the Church of Rome, Nephidim, Anu, Melchizedek, Illuminati, on behalf of the Drac One World Order agenda, launched genocide campaign against Magi Grail Line Cathari Tribe 12. I'm from Original Celestial Human Tribe 12. In fact, a year and a half ago, I was told to go to Montségur, France, and recode Stargate 12. So, these things that I'm talking about are not just history. So the Original Celestial Human Tribe, the Cathars of France, look it up. Montségur, there was a genocide campaign. They held the teachings, the true ascension teachings, part of them, and their popularity of the teachings was gaining. And when that happens, guess what? Well, yeah, they went and did a genocide campaign, destroyed a massive massacre of the Cathars. Look it up. Some people actually hold cellular memory of that time, of that life, where they were killed. And they called it the Albigensian Crusade because anytime, the Eternals, the Guardian Alliance, attempts to release this eternal life wisdom, the science of the 12-stranded DNA, the true ascension teachings, to awake the Magi Grail Kings, to awake the 144,000, to re-embody the 12-stranded DNA so that we can protect Mother Earth, the Stargates, as was originally intended, so that everybody can have a chance to ascend, right? But every time this wisdom gains in popularity and starts spreading, the true ascension teaching that you don't need a middleman, you don't need the church, you don't need someone telling you what to do or what to believe, but that the intron potential DNA, the 12-stranded DNA, the inner Christos resource reclamation mission is within you, and sound, light, and frequency, and the teaching starts spreading, well, a crusade happens, right? And they destroy the teachings, the Joshua 12 left behind 3 books. They destroy the true teachings and they rewrite history. Whoever controls the political landscape can rewrite history through the media by burning the books of Alexandria, the Library of Alexandria, and rewriting history. We come from apes. No, we don't. Because if we reactivate our upper stranded DNA, we start remembering who we are. Original celestial human beings. Eternal. Take a look inside and you will find you are who you've been looking for the whole time. So the Albigensian Crusade happens against original celestial human tribe 12, and they're destroyed. A small group of Cathari escaped, however, and with CDT plate 12. Remember, Asiana Dean, don't look at the speaker, don't look at me. Okay, the messenger, don't look at the messenger, look at the message. Asiana Dean brought through and transcribed this book that I'm reading from the CDT plates. Cloister Duratura plates, which holds the true history of the Ascension teachings, the true history of Mother Earth. So she transcribed this book from there, as did Joshua 12, which has been destroyed, the books. But a small portion of the Cathars escaped with CDT 12, plate 11, and numerous volumes of the pure Joshua Essene records. And from my information, my knowledge, these teachings were hidden in France, and they're going to be found and will one day provide witness to the realities of the Atlantean conspiracy. And so these true teachings are coming back out. And from what I'm being told, this is the lifetime where the teachings are going to come back out and we're not going to be martyred, burned at the stake. That's, from my awareness, this is the lifetime where the true ascension teachings happen and are told, right? Because love wins, higher oscillation and trains lower vibration. And this is the lifetime we have waited for. So in 1500 AD, a Mecca crusade. And, I think this was important. The quest for the Holy Grail continued as Hyksos Knights Templar, Anu Melchizedek Illuminati races, and Omicron Draconian Nephilim Anu Melchizedek Illuminati races advanced their one world order agenda in pursuit of the Holy Grail. The Grail point is the central control point for Earth's Templar or Stargates, the Grail point. That's where the word Holy Grail comes from. And to both competing groups intended to hold dominion over the lands of the Grail. The Protestant and Catholic invasion of Native American tribes began in quest for the control of the Grail point. The name America comes from the name of one of the Emerald Covenant Magi Grail lines known as the Ameka, who were protectors of the Grail point. The Native American tribe, Ameka, were protectors of the Grail point and the Protestant and Catholic Church invasion. On planet, we read about 1492 Columbus sailed the ocean blue. Just to look for new land. No, but off planet, they, Draconian, Nephilim, Anu Melchizedek, Illuminati races, Hyksos Knights Templar are sending their on planet to look for the Grail point, for the quest for the Holy Grail. Guided through mystical secret societies set up by their respective fallen angelic kin, competing groups of Anu Melchizedek Illuminati races launched a progressive infiltration and takeover of the North American continent in search for the Grail point. Each intended to destroy the exiled Lemurian and native Seminole and Ameka Native Americans, Magi Grail line tribes who had knowledge of running the round tables in a systematic takeover of the North American Templar. And, our history book talks about, John Smith, friendly landing, Thanksgiving, history will repeat itself. And then, they took over the Native American North America in search for the Grail point, but then also they brought a smallpox over, and the smallpox, and then at that time, the Native American tribes were gathering, and they knew that they needed to unite, right? Because the people who did this were not done. They're going for total control. And the Native American tribes at that time, according to that timeline, could not unite. And so what happened to the Native Americans happened. Well, guess what? This time around, there's a different type of virus. Same off-planet people doing the same on-planet things. There is no time. Time is simultaneous. Are we going to learn? They're going for total control. Those who love peace, must learn how to communicate and collaborate better than those who love war. And those who have launched control the media are not done. They're just getting started. So it's really important for us to have access to our telepathy, upper stranded DNA, our natural abilities, to be able to see through the fear and to be able to come together. Don't fight the system, create a new one. Hubs, conscious communities, self-sustainable, off-grid, and to be ready, dare to prepare for what's coming, because history repeats itself unless we learn from the past. So it was anticipated. So America was founded by the Luciferian Hyksos Knights Templar Anu Melchizedek Illuminati, who now go by the name Freemasons, on behalf of the Galactic Federation and the Palladian, Nibirian, Anunnaki races of the 9560 BC Luciferian Covenant. Competing Illuminati groups and their stellar co-conspirators intended to use the North American Grau Point and their holdings of Stargate 11 Europe, Stargate 4 Egypt, Stargate 10 Middle East to gain full control of Earth Templar or Stargates on behalf of the stellar contacts during the 2000 stellar activation cycle. 2000 to every 26,500 years or so, the Earth stargates, portals in and out of Mother Earth open, right? And whoever has control of the Templars, the stargates at the time, can bring in whatever energy or control, Mother Earth. And the Ark of the Covenant, it's a portal, so you can bring in high frequency into the Mother Earth. You can use it to do all kinds of things, good and bad, right? So all these things start making sense. It was anticipated that the final conflict drama in the Battle of Armageddon would take place as the competing Draconian and Anunnaki descendant Anu Melchizedek human Illuminati legions battled it out for control of Earth's Templar during the long-awaited 2000 to 2017 stellar activation cycle. So you read about in the Bible, Armageddon. Well, that's what they were talking about. Neither side anticipated that there would be enough surviving angelic human 12 tribes and Magi Grail races left with the knowledge to run the round tables to prevent the Illuminati, known as the Leviathan Force, from succeeding in their One World Order agenda. Included in this One World Order agenda was the reinitiation of contact with the fallen angelic ET legions. The fallen angelics intended to slowly make their presence known, then come in to stake their claims. The Draconian, Reptilian, Centaurian descent Anu Melchizedek Illuminati races attempted but failed to claim world dominion over their Anunnaki adversaries via their representative Hitler in World War II. Draconian, Reptilian, Centaurian. They have been the predominant hidden source of war, race hatreds, and territorial, financial, and religious competition behind and within world governments until the September 12, 2000 United Resistance. On September 12, 2000, most competing Illuminati races and their respective fallen angelic ringleaders agreed to take a united stand against Emerald Covenant races to ensure success of the One World Order Dominion agenda and destruction of the angelic human races during the 2000 to 2000 stellar activation cycle. So, I'm gonna skip now to the end here. Through quickly relearning how to run the rainbow rounds, angelic humans and hybrid races can prevent pending Anunnaki Draconian One World Order Dominion. Running the Signet Rainbow Roundtables to reclaim Earth's Templar from fallen angelic dominion has been known for thousands of years as the 1111, 1212 Inner Christos Reclamation Mission. The divine commission previously attempted by Jesus, John, Miriam, King Arthur, Guinevere, Knights, the Cathari, the Native Americans, and numerous other Magi Grail Line kings throughout history since 25,500 BC Luciferian rebellion. So, a lot of us are having visions of councils of 12, right? And energy equals mass times not speed of light squared, but consciousness squared. 12 squared is 144. So when groups of 12 councils in heaven as in earth, right? There's councils in heaven, but there's also councils on earth. Magi Grail king lines who hold the coding for the original Earth Templar or Stargates come together and on very specific high frequency grid points start combining their intention. 12 times 12 is 144 energy squared, and bringing in high frequency into the temples, the crystals underneath the earth where some of us are locating in our ceremonies, and we start simultaneously holding and running these round tables again, we can lift the frequency of Mother Earth into the crystals underneath the earth, charge them, and they lift the ley lines, the electromagnetic ley lines of Mother Earth, and then we start reversing the grid lines, the brain of Mother Earth, the neural pathways of Mother Earth, the electromagnetic frequency of Mother Earth to a certain frequency. And theoretically speaking, when enough of us embody, like Ashiana said, 8% embody the 50 NA strand or whatever, there's a tipping point where we can literally increase the frequency of Mother Earth and do a rewrite history and do a massive timeline shift into either Atlantis rising, or there's many different timelines, pre-fall Earth Tara, rewrite the stars. And so a lot of us hold the coding. In fact, a lot of us ancient souls chose to come in with certain coding, like Jehovah and Anunnaki coding and patriarchal fathers and things like this, to be able to forgive and heal that lineage, heal that morphogenetic field. And when one person does it, it creates quantum potential for everybody to do it, to rewrite the Thoth timeline, to rewrite the Enki Anunnaki timeline, to rewrite the Knights Templar timeline, and to be able to, we already know the Luciferian agenda, how that ends. Love wins. It's been prophesied. And prophecy is being created and fulfilled at the same time. And we are the ones we waited for. Take a look inside into the intron potential DNA. Reactivate, galactivate. For the glory of Source's name, Babylon shall fall. Babylon is any system based in fear. And God's children now standing tall, roaring like a lion. Let the lion in Judah arise. Take a look inside and you will find you are who you've been looking for the whole time. So for those who are interested, I created a 12-strand DNA activation course. If it resonates, cool. If it doesn't, cool. I'm going to give a 75% discount code, ENJOY, INJOY, in the show notes. For me, that's what started rewriting my DNA, helping me remember my cosmic history, helping to remember that the inner Christ is within, and then helping me start to find my soul family. And then also, more importantly, it just, there's a certain point where it becomes fun because there are no enemies. Yeah, when I first heard this wisdom, I was pissed off. I was like, why do they allow people to come into the Emerald Covenant? They defect, they have their avatar child, they defect, and they go and they leave, and they come and they leave. But you know what? There are no enemies. Everybody's playing their perfect role. And at a certain point, once we start embodying the frequency, we start realizing we are all one. There are no enemies. Don't fight the system, create a new one, and life becomes fun. It becomes, and the original intention of Source was Earth to be a playground, a safe haven, and we start living in 5D more and more and more and more, where there's no competition, illusion of separation, where we can start co-creating, where we can start co-creating creatively and playing together. And, you know, I call it the most epic love story ever written. All of this shit that humanity has been through, and we're literally, there's no greater joy than service. We're able to serve one another, love one another, come together, and those who love peace are now coming together, collaborating, communicating. Many of us are having visions and co-creating a new earth, little hubs of light, cities of light on high frequency grid points. We get to bang our drums. We get to heal one another. We get to, you know, play with one another. Oh, and it's fun. And so, because there comes a certain point where you can start creating a hologram where there's no competition, right? And so I hope that this podcast, for those of you who've made it all to the end, congratulations. But history will repeat itself unless we learn from the past. Humanity is a crowning jewel of all creation. There's been 3 seedings, and this is the lifetime for many of us that we've waited for. Remember who you are. You, an ancient old star. Your soul comes from afar, fought in the Orion War, but don't want to fight no more. What we fight, we become. What we judge becomes the shadow. Yes, and Klaus Schwab and his homies are, you know, meeting together and talking about, but guess what? Right down the street, there's a group. They shall own nothing and they will be happy. But there's a group down the street, New Earth Architects, gathering at the same time, coming in love and recreating heaven on earth. Unite an army of love, create heaven on earth. And this is the lifetime we waited for, and it's a lot of fun. So I just want to say sincerely from the bottom of my heart, thank you for being born. Whether you believe it or not, you chose to be here for this time, for such a time as this. And all of creation is now crying out for the true sons and daughters of God to re-embody their upper stranded DNA, to remember who we are. And you have a very deep purpose. 144,000 have arrived. Stars in my mind have aligned. Go ahead, shine your light. Shine so bright. Don't be shy. You are the light of the world. New Earth, let's go. Love, light, peace, and truth to all sentient beings. Peace in the Middle East.